She laughed when she called me trouble. But the moment her eyes softened, I realized she wasn't warning me. She was confessing something her heart had been fighting for far too long. He wasn't supposed to notice her. Not like that. It was a quiet afternoon, the kind that felt half asleep. Sunlight warming the windows, the faint hiss of the espresso machine, pages turning somewhere in the background. He came to the cafe, only to finish an overdue paragraph. Nothing more. His laptop bag was slung over his shoulder, his headphones dangling around his neck, his mind already buried in whatever he needed to write. But then there she was, sitting alone at a corner table near the window. She didn't stand out at first glance, not in an attention-seeking way. Her beauty was softer than that, the kind that sneaks up on you. A calm presence, a quiet confidence. Her hair fell loosely around her shoulders in gentle waves, a few strands catching the sunlight. She had a well-worn paperback open in her hands, thumb tapping the margin lightly as she read. He might have passed her without a second thought, if she hadn't looked up at the exact moment he walked by. Her eyes met his, warm, steady, amused, as if she'd been expecting him even though she clearly hadn't. And because he was too distracted by the suddenness of it, he clipped the edge of her table with the corner of his bag. Her coffee cup rattled. Her book shifted. He froze. "I'm so sorry," but she laughed. Not a sharp laugh, a soft, breathy one that settled into the space between them like warm light spreading through a dim room. She lifted her gaze fully, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "You," she said, eyes narrowing playfully, "are trouble." Her voice was gentle, low, a little teasing. He opened his mouth to argue, or apologize again, but before he could speak, she added with a quiet smile that carried far more warmth than he was prepared for. "But the kind my heart can't resist." She said it jokingly, lightly, like she was tossing him a line just to see how he'd react. But something in her eyes, the softness, the slight hesitation, made it feel like a truth she didn't intend to reveal. And there he stood, a grown man suddenly unsure what to do with his hands, his breath, or the heat that climbed his neck. He laughed awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck, but she continued watching him with that same warm, amused expression, like he had become the most interesting part of her day. He apologized again, quieter this time, and she waved it off with a small flick of her fingers, the gesture graceful and reassuring. "It's all right," she murmured, returning her attention to her book but still smiling. "Just try not to destroy my table next time." Her tone was light, but something about the moment stuck to him. Her laughter, the warmth of her voice, the way she looked at him like she could already read him a little too well. He walked away, pretending the moment hadn't unsettled him. But as he sat down and opened his laptop, he realized he couldn't remember a single sentence he'd planned to write. All he could hear was her soft laugh. All he could feel was the echo of her words. "You're trouble, but the kind my heart can't resist." A joke for her. A beginning for him. He tells himself he isn't coming back for her. It's just the cafe, the quiet, the smell of espresso, the sunlight across the wooden tables. That's all. At least, that's the story he rehearses every time he pushes open the glass door. But the truth sits quietly in the back of his mind. He's hoping she's there. And most days she is. Always in the same corner seat. Always with a book. Always with a soft expression that shifts into something warmer when she notices him. The second day he returns, she closes her book halfway when he walks in. Not obviously, just a subtle, involuntary motion. He pretends not to notice, but the gesture settles somewhere in his chest. He orders his usual and sits at the table next to hers, close enough to catch the faint scent of her perfume. Something warm and elegant, like vanilla layered with something floral he can't name. It's a scent that lingers, not loudly, but enough to anchor him in the moment. She glances at him over the top of her book. "So," she says, "did you manage to avoid causing chaos today? Or did another innocent piece of furniture suffer?" He laughs under his breath. "I'm trying to behave." She tilts her head, smiling. "I'll believe it when I see it." That becomes the pattern. Easy conversations that slip into deeper ones without either of them noticing how they got there. She asks him what he's writing. He asks her what she's reading. She tells him she likes stories that hurt a little before they heal. He tells her he's never met someone who said that so openly. Sometimes she teases him. Sometimes she listens so closely that he forgets to be self-conscious. And she never rushes him. There's something grounding about her presence, like she's lived enough life to understand where silence belongs between two sentences. One afternoon, the cafe is unusually crowded, leaving only one small table open, the edge of hers. She notices him scanning the room, then taps the seat beside her gently, almost shyly. "You can sit here if you want." He wants, more than he should. When he sits down, their knees brush lightly under the table, a small accidental touch that feels like an electric pulse running through him. She must feel it too, because she exhales softly, almost inaudibly. But she doesn't move away. They share space, conversation, and small, unintentional collisions, elbows brushing, shoulders nearly touching. Then there's the moment with the sugar jar. They both reach for it at the same time. Her fingers slide over the back of his hand. Just a second, maybe less. But the softness of her skin, the warmth of her touch, the way her breath stills just slightly, the moment expands. She withdraws her hand slowly, her eyes dropping to the table as a quiet, almost embarrassed smile tugs at her lips. "Sorry," she whispers. He shakes his head. "Don't be." And she looks at him then, really looks, with a gaze that lingers longer than it should, her expression open, unguarded. Their connection is no longer accidental. It's becoming a habit, a pull, something she feels and is starting to fear. But for now, she lets herself smile at him, warm and soft, as though the closeness is beginning to feel natural. He notices the shift before she ever says a word. It's small at first, so small he tries to brush it off as imagination. But it's there, a different rhythm, a different temperature in the air around her. She still sits in her usual corner, still reads her usual books, but her body language isn't the same. Her shoulders are a little tenser. Her smile arrives a second too late. And when he walks in, she doesn't close her book halfway like she used to. She slips a bookmark in quickly and folds her hands together, creating a polite distance. He tells himself it's nothing. People have off days. She's allowed to be tired, distracted, lost in her own world. But when he speaks to her, he can't ignore it. Her voice is gentle, but not warm. Her eyes meet his but don't linger. The easy playfulness that once sparked between them now flickers weakly, like a candle caught in a breeze. He tries to make conversation like always. "How's the book?" "Good," she answers, giving a small smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "What about you?" he asks quietly. "You okay?" She nods, too quickly, and reaches for a coffee cup with both hands. He notices the way her fingers tighten around it, as if she needs the cup as a shield. The gesture is subtle but unmistakable. She's pulling back, and he doesn't know why. He thinks about the sugar jar moment, that brief, warm touch between them. He thinks about the way she smiled afterward, shy and soft, the way her breath had slipped out in a quiet flutter. He replays it, wondering if he imagined the closeness entirely. A part of him wants to ask her directly. A bigger part of him is afraid of the answer. The next day, he tries again, offering her a warm greeting, trying to ease the tension with small talk, but she keeps a careful, controlled distance. She laughs politely, but her gaze flickers away too quickly. Her voice stays soft, but not open. When he sits down, she angles her body slightly away, not rudely, just protectively. It hurts more than he expects. He watches her thumb trace the rim of her coffee cup, slow and restless. He watches the way she avoids letting their hands brush now, even accidentally. And every time she looks up at him, she gives a quick smile and immediately looks back down, as though holding eye contact might reveal something she's not ready to face. He senses her fear, even though he doesn't understand it. But it's not rejection. It's not coldness. It's something gentler and heavier. Something like a woman reminding herself of boundaries she never planned to cross. He doesn't know she's been thinking about him too much, more than she should. He doesn't know she's lying awake wondering why a man nearly 20 years younger can make her heart stir in ways she thought she'd outgrown. He doesn't know she's pulling away not because she wants distance, but because she's terrified of what closeness with him might mean. He only knows that the laughter that once lit up her eyes now hides behind careful restraint. And he misses it more than he expected. He lasts 3 days. 3 long days of sitting near her, pretending the space between them isn't growing colder. 3 days of polite smiles, careful nods, and conversation so thin it barely feels like there's any more. He keeps waiting for her to thaw, for the warm, teasing woman he first met to return. But she doesn't, and he realizes something quietly devastating. She isn't going to come back on her own. So on the 4th day, he decides he can't keep pretending. The cafe is nearly empty that afternoon. The rain outside has softened the world into a gentle hush, a muted gray that makes everything feel more intimate, more honest. She's sitting with her usual cup of coffee, hands wrapped around it as though holding something fragile. He walks to her table slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Can I sit?" he asks. She glances up and forces a smile, the kind that looks like it cost her something. "Of course," she says, but her voice is thin. He sits across from her, folding his hands on the table to keep from fidgeting. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The quiet stretches, not uncomfortable, just heavy. He watches the way she keeps her eyes lowered, focusing on the rising steam from her cup instead of him. Finally, he breathes out, "Did I do something wrong?" Her head lifts immediately. Her eyes widen with surprise, then soften with guilt. "No," she murmurs. "God, no. You didn't do anything." "Then what is it?" His voice is steady, but his chest feels tight. "Because something changed. I feel it, and I don't want to pretend I don't." She swallows, looking past him toward the window, as if the answer might be hiding in the rain. "I just needed some space." "From me?" He doesn't mean for it to sound hurt, but it does. Her breath stirs, shaky and unsteady. "From how you make me feel." That stops him cold. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's honest in a way she clearly didn't mean to reveal. He leans forward a little, lowering his voice. "You can talk to me, you know." She closes her eyes for a brief moment, as if collecting courage. When she opens them again, he sees the vulnerability she's been hiding, quiet, real, and trembling around the edges. "I wasn't prepared," she admits. "You sit with me, you talk to me, and it's easy. Too easy. And I started to feel." She breaks off, her fingers tightening around the coffee cup. He reaches out slowly, giving her every second to pull away. He doesn't touch her hand. Not yet, but he places his own near hers, close enough that she can bridge the distance if she wants to. Her gaze drops to the small space between them. And after a long, breath-held pause, she moves her hand into his. Her fingers fit lightly over his knuckles, warm and uncertain. Her touch is tentative at first, a question, a confession, a surrender all at once. When he gently turns his hand to hold hers fully, she exhales a quiet breath that sounds like relief. Her thumb brushes across the side of his hand, slow, soft, unguarded. "It scared me," she whispers. "You don't scare me," he replies. And that simple truth eases something deep within her. For the first time in days, she looks at him without fear, without distance, just honesty and the quiet beginning of trust. After their conversation, the honest one, the one that finally cracked through her hesitation, neither of them wants to leave right away. But the cafe is closing early because of the rainstorm rolling in. The barista sweeps the floor quietly, offering them an apologetic smile, and she gives a small nod of understanding. He walks out with her, side by side under the awning while rain pours in shimmering sheets onto the pavement. The air smells like wet concrete and soft earth, and for once, the world feels stripped down to just the two of them. She pulls her coat tighter around herself and glances at him with a tender vulnerability still lingering in her eyes. The same vulnerability she tried so hard to hide these past days. "Thank you," she says softly. "For what?" "For asking. For not letting me disappear into myself." He doesn't answer right away. He's watching her, the delicate tilt of her chin, the way the raindrops glimmer on her hair, the warm, careful expression she's trying to give him without letting it overwhelm her. "You don't have to hide from me," he murmurs. That does something to her. Her lips part with a quiet breath, not quite a sigh, more like surrender. She shifts her weight, almost unconsciously moving closer. He feels the faint brush of her sleeve against his. When they reach her car, she hesitates with her hand on the door handle. The hesitation is small, but he sees it, sees her wrestling with herself, with the feeling she's tried to keep controlled. And then she makes a decision. She steps toward him. She doesn't speak. She just reaches, her fingers curling lightly around the back of his shoulder as she guides herself into him. Her arms slide around him slowly, as though she's afraid of breaking something fragile, or perhaps afraid of what happens if she holds him too tightly. He immediately wraps his arms around her, not pulling her in, but holding her steady, giving her space to choose how close she wants to be. She chooses close. Her cheek rests against his chest, warm through the thin fabric of his shirt. He feels the soft, unsteady rhythm of her breathing. She exhales once, long, trembling, emotional, and the sound sinks straight into him. For a moment, it feels like the rain has muted the whole world, leaving only the warmth between them. She doesn't let go quickly. Not this time. Not like before. Her hands slide slightly along his back, as though memorizing how he feels. When she finally pulls back, she does it slowly, almost reluctantly. Her palms remain on his arms for a second longer, fingertips brushing down his sleeves, as if tracing the goodbye she doesn't fully want to say. She lifts her eyes to his, closer than they've ever been, and her voice drops into a soft, honest whisper. I needed that more than I realized. He smiles gently, brushing a raindrop from her hairline with a thumb. I know. Her breath catches, barely, but enough for him to notice. And for the first time, she doesn't look away. She lets him see her, all of her softness, her fear, her hope. The quiet once she's been hiding finally rests at the surface. They part only when the cold air makes her shiver. But as she slips in her car, he knows that hug wasn't just comfort. It was a turning point. A quiet promise neither of them dared to say aloud. The rain has stopped by the next afternoon, leaving the world washed clean, the sidewalks still shimmering with leftover puddles. He arrives at the cafe before she does, not out of impatience, but because something in him wants to be there first to steady himself before she walks in. Their hug from the night before hasn't left his mind. The warmth of her cheek against his chest. The way she lingered, as if letting go meant losing something she'd just found. He wonders if she regrets it. He wonders if she'll pretend it never happened. And then she walks in. Her eyes find him instantly. No searching, no hesitación. Just a soft, almost shy recognition, the kind that warms her expression before she even reaches him. She crosses the cafe slowly, smoothing her hair behind one ear, a gesture he's beginning to recognize as something she does when she's nervous but trying to appear composed. Hi, she says gently. He returns the smile. There's no distance today, no guarded posture, just a quiet, aware closeness in the way she stands beside him, as if her body already remembers how it felt to be held by him. I was thinking, she starts, then pauses, her gaze flicking briefly to the window. Maybe we could sit outside? It's nice out. He nods, sensing the unspoken weight behind the suggestion. Sitting outside means privacy. Space to talk. Space to feel. They step out together, walking slowly toward a quiet wooden bench just beyond the cafe's patio. The air is cool, touched with the clean scent of rain. A soft breeze moves through the leaves above them, adding a faint whisper to the moment. When they sit, their shoulders touch accidentally, but unlike before, neither of them shifts away. She holds a paper cup in both hands, staring at the lid with a small, thoughtful crease between her brows. I've been thinking a lot, she admits softly, about everything. He waits, not pushing, not interrupting, just listening fully, attentively, the way he knows she needs him to. It's been a long time since anyone made me feel, she trails off and exhales, her breath trembling just enough to reveal what her words won't. Seen. Safe. Wanted. He turns slightly, their knees brushing. Is that how you feel with me? Her eyes lift to his, slow, hesitant but honest. Too much, she whispers. And I don't know what to do with that. Gently, almost without thinking, he reaches up and tucks a loose strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers graze her cheek, soft, careful, reverent. Her breath stops, her eyelids fluttering for a faint second, as if the touch reached deeper than she expected. She leans into his hand, barely, but undeniably, her cheek warming beneath his palm. I didn't expect you, she murmurs, voice fragile real. He swallows, his thumb brushing her cheekbone in a slow, grounding motion. I didn't expect you either. Silence stretches between them, full, warm, alive. Not empty. Their hands find each other naturally, fingers intertwining, her grip tightening just slightly, as though clinging to a moment she's afraid to lose. There is no grand confession, no dramatic declaration, just the quiet truth sitting openly between their joined hands. They want this. They want each other, and neither of them is running anymore. The first thing I noticed was the way her breathing changed. Just a small shift, a quiet inhale, a trembling exhale, but enough to make the world around us feel suddenly, impossibly still. We weren't touching. We weren't even close enough for it to look romantic from the outside. But the air between us, it felt charged, fragile, like something important was about to be said, and the universe was leaning in to hear it with us. She was staring at her hands, fingers loosely laced, thumbs brushing each other in a tense rhythm. I'd never seen her nervous, not like this. She was always the calm one, the steady one, the woman who made everyone else feel safe just by being there. And yet here she was, shoulders drawn in, voice locked behind a silence she didn't seem to know how to break. So I didn't speak. I didn't rush her. I just sat there, letting her borrow the quiet. After a long moment, she lifted her eyes. And when she did, something inside me tightened so sharply I forgot how to breathe. There was no teasing in her expression now. No mischief. No carefully placed distance. Just a raw, open vulnerability. The kind people only show when they're either very brave or very scared. Can I tell you something? She asked softly. I nodded. I didn't trust myself to speak. She exhaled again, as if gathering every piece of courage she had left. Her voice, when it finally came, was quiet but steady. You make me feel things I stopped letting myself feel a long time ago. My chest tightened, not with excitement, but with a kind of ache I didn't expect. Because beneath her words was a story she had never told. Heartbreaks she carried quietly, disappointments she buried, years of convincing herself that she was safer alone. The weight of it all trembled inside that one sentence. I didn't move. I didn't smile. I didn't try to fill the silence with anything comforting or poetic. I just listened, really listened. She looked down again, as if embarrassed by how honest she had been. I wasn't supposed to let you matter, she whispered. You're younger, you're unexpected, and I kept telling myself you're just temporary. She paused, her jaw tightening. But you're not, and that scares me. Hearing her say that, in that voice with that honesty, felt like her eyes softened. Barely, but enough. For the first time, she didn't hide behind a smile or a clever line. She didn't deflect or tease or pretend she didn't care as much as she did. She simply looked at me, openly, vulnerably, beautifully, and whispered, I think I already am. And in that moment, without a single touch between us, something deep and undeniable finally shifted. Her walls didn't just crack. They chose to fall.